either going to end up playing Pittsburgh or Washington starting next week when the NHL playoffs start. So it was a disappointing, but yet another wake-up call by a very good team, as the Boston Bruins did the same thing to them over the weekend. And everybody will realize that in hockey, much like basketball, as we are seeing, and by the way, did you see Ja Morant last night?
Yes.
Holy
of course.
man,
Yeah.
Jesus. That kid exploded on the scene again last night. But anyway, just like basketball, and we saw with the Nets, I mean, the ice gets smaller. The power plays aren't as robust, and the Rangers will have to figure it out. I think we can win one series, but man, if we play like we played the last two games, we get to that second series against one of these other top teams. It's going to be really difficult to move on from there. But they're giving me a great season, so I don't want to complain too much about that. As far as the Mets are concerned, I don't know, 14-5, best record in baseball. Did we expect to say that? I think we expected to say that. Had Jacob deGrom not been shut down.
Well, I don't know about the best record in baseball and winning every series to start the year. I mean, I don't think even the most optimistic Mets fan would think that they'd be making history. But 14-5 start is not expected. I mean, it's just not. So this has blown everybody away. And I mean, at this point, I mean, there's been teams that I've seen throughout the years, watching baseball, whether it be the Yankees and their dynasty, or when the Braves were winning all those divisions in the early 90s and the mid-90s. And when you'd play them, and the Dodgers in recent memory, you'd play them, and it was just like, they're going to win 2 out of 3. That's just what they do. They come in, they take the series, and they leave. Or you go there, they take the series, and you leave.
Or you get swept.
Yeah. And there's this expectation every time that they go out there that they're better than you. And through these first 19 games of the season for the Mets, I get that feeling. Now, it continuing through the next 10,000 games that there are in a regular season of a baseball season, I understand is difficult. But so far, I mean, with this Cardinal series, as good of a team as they are with high expectations, it was like you expected the Mets to go in there and take the series, and they did. And their pitching has just been phenomenal. And Chris Bassett, I love. I know he had one bad start, but I love this guy. I mean, I know everybody's going to love Scherzer, and rightfully so, but this guy is as much of a bulldog as anybody. And he's out there, and he's speaking the truth in the post-game stuff, and he's grinding. He's another one of these guys that I know goes out there and desperately wants to win. And he's just, no matter what the start is, he's out there and he's grinding, and he's everything seems to be just full force go Chris Bassett like it's a postseason start. So I mean, I've loved it. And Carlos Carrasco's been phenomenal too. Everybody's been phenomenal. It's just it's nuts, man. It's crazy, and I believe it's sustainable because of the things that we have talked about before. The depth of the team, the manager, and the fact that they are right now, I mean, is probably as complete from top to bottom as they've been since the year they went to the World Series.
Yeah, well, and they're doing it without 2 of their starting pitchers, and that's Jacob deGrom and Taijuan Walker. Maybe Taijuan Walker will come back this weekend. Who knows? Against the Phillies. But yeah, it's good. Man, look, I'm not going to argue with it. I'm just going to sit here and say I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to actually have a hockey team going into the playoffs, have a baseball team start the way they started. And, speaking of baseball teams, Aaron Judge had his 30th birthday yesterday.
He did. That's right. Yep.
And
happy birthday, Aaron Judge.
That's right. And your boy Rizzo hit 3 home runs.
That's right.
They were, by the way, home runs, short porch home runs, which is fine. This is why you want him in your lineup.
Yeah, whatever.
And
yeah.
plus, he leads the league in home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's a guy that the Yankees waited to sign.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know how. I think people expected him to come back. It just took a while.
There was talk about other guys too. There was talk about Freddie Freeman. There was talk about Matt Olson. There was talk about upgrading the position, and they weren't in on those 2 guys very seriously. And then Rizzo ended up coming back, and he's gotten off to a massive start.
So here's the thing. He's got a 2-year deal, and it's a team. I would say it's a team-friendly deal, even though he's making quite a bit of money. I think he's making $16 million a year, whatever it is, which seems right for him. At this point, do we say that Brian Cashman did the right thing here?
Yeah, I mean, early returns are great. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, where this team finishes is really going to be the ultimate Brian Cashman referendum, because he's been here so long that bringing back Anthony Rizzo isn't going to be the thing that makes his resume.
I mean, but the point being is, as people were going over the roster, going over things, and look, we got on Isaiah Kiner-Falefa early on. After the first 10 games, he was a hole in the lineup, and then all of a sudden turned it around a little bit, became more offensive, seemed to be more comfortable at shortstop as well. All I'm saying is that with all the criticism that was thrown at Brian Cashman for the entire offseason for not getting Correa, and then seeing the deal that Correa ends up signing, why couldn't we give him that deal? And then I guess you'd have to say he settled on Rizzo, and settling on Rizzo and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I would say at this point have more than held up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the Yankees is, though, if they get off to a good start against these teams, the credit isn't going to be there as much, because, all right, wow, you beat up on the Orioles, fine. That's what people think. And then also, it's really about the Yankees. It's progressing in the postseason for them. So, it's hard to say right now, well, Brian Cashman did the right thing with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Anthony Rizzo. It's hard to say that right now. Even though both of them in the recent week or two have been very, very good. It's really about where they go. But listen, they needed to, because you put together the Boomer stretch. They needed to feast on these teams, and they got off to a bad start. They were 3-3 against the Orioles and the Tigers to start that stretch, but now they just keep winning and they keep bashing, and that's exactly what they need to do.
So, and the reason I say that is because other teams in their division, most notably Toronto, is going to be feasting on these teams. You just know they are. And this is where you win or lose your division. This is where you actually make it to the playoffs, so you don't. And the Orioles are a better team than they were last year. They struggled against the Orioles, and that was the difference. That was truly at the end of the season, when you looked at it, all you had to do is look at who played the Orioles and what were their records against the Orioles, and there was your difference.
Yep.
And, the Yankees, like you said, sleeping through those first 6 games against the Tigers and the Orioles, losing 2 out of 3 to the Orioles, makes you wonder about what's going on. But now all of a sudden they're starting to straighten it out and taking 3 out of 3 from the Guardians, and then, putting up the numbers they did yesterday. And actually, by the way, I was watching Severino pitch. And he pitched good until he gave up that little home run.
Well, yeah, and it
wasn't a little home run, but he was pitching really good up to that point.
Well, he had a no-hitter. He took into the 6th inning. So it was funny, I tell you, Sweeney Murdy really has a beat on this team, because he mentioned after the first inning, I believe. Because remember last year he called the Corey Kluber no-hitter? You remember that?
Yes.
If you don't, so he actually called it after the first inning. And he did it again last night. He goes, I don't have the same conviction as I did with Corey Kluber, but after 1 inning, the way he is dealing with this Orioles lineup, it's something to keep an eye on. And he ended up, having 5 perfect innings, or 4 perfect innings maybe, and then ended up taking a no-hitter into the 6th. So he was absolutely spectacular.
It's amazing they gave up 8 runs, though.
No, I know. And then all of a sudden, it just ended up being a free-for-all.
Turned into a softball game.
It did end up turning into that. And another big issue is this baseball situation, and I'm sure Jerry's going to have what Chris Bassett said after the game, as he basically went after Major League Baseball and saying that there's no consistency to these baseballs, and it's really frustrating. And they're bad. They're flat out bad. And he was very, very critical of Major League Baseball. So, I mean, when you see guys continually getting hit and then hit in the head, and especially we've seen that with the Mets. I mean, Pete Alonso probably thinks he's in a Final Destination movie. I mean, think about this. It's like something's trying to, go out and get him. The car accident, getting hit in the head twice. I mean, for crying out loud, what an unbelievable March and April for Pete Alonso.
I'll tell you one thing, the helmets work.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. And he got right up and everything else. And, obviously, when Marte gets hit, as the ball goes inside with the bases loaded, you know that it's not an intentional situation, because you don't want to, in a 2-0 game, have the Mets tack on. But it's frustrating as hell.
What do you think hurts more, baseball at 90 miles an hour to a head, or a hockey puck 105 miles an hour right to the mask?
Oh, man. That's you said 105 or 90.
Mika hit the goalie for the Hurricanes last night square right in the forehead.
Yeah.
I mean, and he just let it rip.
Right.
And that guy just I don't even think he saw it. It just hit him right in the forehead, and boom. Next thing you know, he's like got to collect his thoughts, and he gets himself back into position. But I was just thinking both of those things happened last night.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be in a position where either one of those things happen. But the Mets have been in too many of those positions. So, I mean, I don't know. It's so weird what goes on with the baseball and Major League Baseball controlling it. And, some years it flies more, and some years it's more dense and it's not as flies more. And then now you're not allowed to use sticky stuff, and now all this and that and whatever else. And our baseballs, I was listening to Alan Jerry, the warm-up show. They're really still made out of cowhide? Baseballs are still made out of cowhide.
Well, what do you think they're going to be made out of?
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.